Single dad cleans up after Carnival. The woman helping him is the billionaire owner. The last firework fizzled in the sky, its golden sparkles fading like the laughter of the children who had long gone home. Empty popcorn bags, crushed soda cups, and forgotten toys littered the carnival grounds. Ethan Hayes sighed, tightening the knot on the black trash bag in his calloused hands. As a single dad working 3 part-time jobs just to keep a roof over his daughter's head, volunteering for extra cleanup hours at the carnival wasn't glamorous, but it paid. His 8-year-old daughter, Lila, had begged to come. It was her first carnival. He couldn't afford tickets, but a local church had offered free admission to kids, and Ethan had taken cleanup duty as thanks. She had spent the day wide-eyed, cotton candy in one hand, her other always holding his dot. Now she slept soundly on a foldable chair behind the funnel cake booth, wrapped in his hoodie, her cheeks sticky with joy, as Ethan stooped to pick up a collapsed cardboard box. A soft voice called from behind, "Need a hand?" He turned and blinked in surprise. The woman wasn't in work clothes. She wore a deep navy peacoat, cream slacks, and spotless white sneakers, completely out of place among the grime and leftover glitter. "You sure?" Ethan asked, raising a brow. "You don't look like you've ever touched a trash bag." The woman smiled. "You'd be surprised what I've touched. Besides, I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty." She grabbed a nearby broom and began sweeping in smooth, practiced motions. Ethan watched her curiously. Her movements were too precise for a volunteer. Her eyes scanned the grounds like someone taking stock. "You work here?" he asked. "Something like that," she replied with a smirk. For the next hour, they worked side by side. She asked about Lila, about his life, and he found himself opening up about losing his wife, about struggling to make ends meet, about how he just wanted his daughter to feel like a kid for one day. The woman nodded silently, listening. When they finished, Ethan wiped his hands on his jeans and extended one. "Thanks for helping out." "I'm Ethan." She took it. "Claire." He turned toward Lila, who was now stirring awake. "Time to head home, kiddo." Claire stepped forward, crouching to Lila's level. "Did you have fun?" Lila nodded sleepily. "Best day ever." Claire smiled. "I'm glad." As Ethan prepared to leave, the carnival manager approached, his face pale. "Mr. Hayes, you were working with her." Ethan blinked. "Yeah." "Why?" The manager's voice dropped to a whisper. "That's Claire Voss. She owns the entire carnival chain. She's a billionaire." Ethan froze. That Claire, the one who revitalized dying towns with community events. The businesswoman who turned old-fashioned fun into a thriving empire. She stood quietly behind him, her eyes full of warmth, her smile unchanged. "I like to visit, anonymously," Claire said gently. "Tonight reminded me why I built this place." Ethan cleared his throat, suddenly unsure of how to stand or speak. "I didn't know." "I'm glad you didn't," she interrupted. "You treated me like a person, not a headline." Then, she did something that truly stunned him. She reached into her coat and pulled out a folded piece of paper. "I own a few properties around here," she said. "This one has a house, a small mechanic's garage, and an after-school rec center. It's sitting empty. I want to offer it to you. Rent-free, if you'll manage it." Ethan's mouth dropped open, Claire added, "and a full scholarship for Lila, anywhere she wants to go." His voice caught in his throat. "Why? Why? Me?" Claire looked over at Lila, now holding Ethan's hand, sleepy, but smiling. "Because you remind me what matters. And because that little girl deserves more days like today." Tears welled in Ethan's eyes as Lila squeezed his hand tighter. That night, beneath the soft hum of the last carnival lights, a tired single dad and his daughter walked toward a future they never saw coming, led by a woman who didn't just build amusement parks, but quietly changed lives. And somewhere between cotton candy and kindness, something new began to grow. Over the next few days, Ethan could hardly sleep. The offer Claire had made felt like a dream, too generous, too sudden. He kept expecting a phone call, that it was all a mistake. But the next morning, a black SUV arrived at his small apartment complex. Claire stepped out, dressed in jeans, boots, and a caramel coat, holding a breakfast box of croissants and fresh juice. "You still think I was joking?" she asked with a knowing smile. Ethan, still in his flannel shirt and worn-out boots, rubbed the back of his neck. People like you don't usually do things like this." Claire tilted her head. "People like me, you know, rich, powerful, fancy shoes." Claire laughed. "Well, people like you don't usually work double shifts, then clean up trash for fun, and still tuck their daughter in with a smile. Yet here we are." They drove an hour north, through winding roads, and over a quiet hilltop. Claire led Ethan and Lila to a 2-story farmhouse with a red barn and a gravel path that wrapped around a workshop garage. The house was worn but beautiful, like something out of a postcard, with ivy crawling up its sides and a wide porch, perfect for lemonade and evening sunsets. Claire handed Ethan the keys. "There's no catch. If you want this to be your home, it's yours." Ethan swallowed hard, blinking back emotion. Lila tugged at his coat. "Daddy, is this our new house?" He kneeled beside her. "Only if you want it to be, Peanut." She grinned. "It looks like the kind of house where dreams live." Claire watched them, heart tugging at the scene. She had spent years building her empire, investing in land, developing family carnivals all across the country. But nothing had ever felt quite as right as this moment. Weeks later, word spread in the small town like wildfire. The local garage had reopened under new management. But it wasn't just a place to get your oil changed, it became a hub. Ethan worked the garage by day, and in the evenings, helped local teens learn basic mechanics. Lila attended the nearby school with a scholarship Claire quietly set up. The house quickly filled with warmth, life, and laughter. And Claire, she visited often, sometimes as the billionaire CEO of Voss Entertainment, other times just as Claire, the woman in a sweatshirt helping repaint the barn, or sitting on the porch with Lila, making paper lanterns, despite her busy schedule. Claire always made time to check in. She brought books for Lila, coffee for Ethan, and sometimes when no one was watching, she stayed for dinner. One night, as cicadas sang in the trees, and the stars lit up the sky, Ethan sat beside her on the porch swing. "Why really me?" he asked again. "You could have helped anyone." Claire looked out at the stars, then turned to him. "Because you reminded me of what I almost forgot, that success means nothing if you're not using it to lift others. And maybe, because you make me want to stay in one place for once." Ethan felt his chest tighten. He glanced at her, unsure. Claire smiled softly. "You gave your daughter everything, even when you had nothing. I admire that." Their eyes met, and for the first time since his wife's death, Ethan felt something shift. Not just gratitude, but hope, possibility. Months later at the next annual carnival, Ethan was no longer sweeping trash. He was at the center of it all, running a small auto booth with local teens, fixing toy ride engines, and making kids laugh. Lila rode the Ferris wheel 6 times, waving every time she passed the booth. And Claire, she stood beside him, not in designer heels, but in dusty sneakers and a Team Hayes t-shirt, cotton candy in one hand. The crowd didn't know she was the owner, and she didn't care. She only cared about one thing, now being exactly where she wanted to be. And as Ethan reached over to gently take her hand beneath the string lights, Claire realized, sometimes, the richest lives are found not in empires but in little moments, laughter, love, and a family you never saw coming.